how we doing? We're back. I was going to do a little work on the game today. Thank you for everyone dropping by. Let's crack the Coke. I was going to wait a little bit further, but I think I need it right now. I think I should do the rundown before I get started. You know, I get a lot. I'm going to introduce myself. I get a lot of this on, especially on TikTok, and there was a couple videos that went viral from the last streams. My name is Thomas Stone. I started Digital DNA, and me and my bros made CastleMiner Z years ago. We're all back together. We're doing it again. It's the little thing. I think it's funny. There was a clip I made about layoffs in the game industry, and that went wildly viral on several different platforms. And there was a lot of comments about like, hey, you should start an indie. If you don't like it, you should go start an indie game company or something. It's funny. I just realized that nobody has any idea who I am. But it's cool. It's cool. More exposure for the game. How's everybody doing? I don't have a lot of I have a lot of little stuff to work on today, not anything big. So I'm just gonna kind of feel it out as we go. Let me make sure I'm not neglecting TikTok right now. Somebody's saying there they have a question. If you have questions, just throw them in the chat. That's what we're here for. And I'm gonna try to bounce. Did I make CastleMiner? Yes, I did make CastleMiner. Not by myself, but we got the crew back together. Do we have the laser weapons modeled? No, not yet. We don't have anything modeled yet. We got lasers in there, but will it come to the Switch too? Possibly. I don't know. It's coming to Steam first, and this is what we're going to talk about right here. CastleMinerZ.com. Let me drop the link in the chat just to make sure everybody has it. If you're interested in the game, number one, wish list, Steam wish list. This helps us out a lot. You could sign up for the beta. You'll get, if you get chosen, you'll get early access to the game. You can support our Patreon right now. Basically, you can buy your way into the beta by doing this. We're completely self-funded, and we're doing this on pennies right now. So if any kind of support that you can give us, anything goes right to the game. Speaking of which, merch, you can. I got my Z shirt out. I was trying to find my other one, but I couldn't find it before the stream. I have this one, but you can go get some CastleMiner Z merch. All the proceeds here go right to the game. These I gotta recommend the embroidered hoodies. Turned out really good. Plus there's a Patreon tier where you get access to the beta and a piece of merch. It's kind of worth it, I think. But anyways, you can go to our website, CastleMinerZ.com. All those links are there. There's also a thing here where you could submit your own voxel creations for the game. If you're interested in that, you could look into that. Somebody said, here's a good question. Somebody said here, I've been messing around with Magic of Voxel, which is the tool that you use to do voxel submissions. Is there any ideas for things you're looking for? We've been putting those out on the Discord channel. So if you join our Discord channel or the community Discord channel, there is requests for voxel creations there. We haven't sent out very many right now. I need the T with just the Z on it. It's funny, I thought those were a little too ambiguous, so I pulled them off of the marketplace, but I can put them back on if you would like. Before I get into this, let me hop over to TikTok. Well, there's a lot of people on TikTok already. A lot of love for the game. I appreciate all the comments. I usually don't read them out loud. I mean, there's a lot of people telling me how CastleMiner Z was a big part of their childhood. You can't imagine how much I appreciate that. That's why we do what we do. As a game developer, the most important thing is that people play your games. So when there's people saying that, you know, we made an impact on their childhood, that's sort of what it's all about. That's the reason we do it. Everyone's asking when will it be on Steam? Yes, we're initially going to ship on Steam, hopefully by the end of the year. And then as things come together and Microsoft either allows us or doesn't allow us to do it, we will try to go to the other platforms, Xbox, PlayStation. I was looking at the forums for submitting the Xbox thing today. I don't think we're far enough along yet to go into the submission process on the Xbox. We sort of have to be on a place where we're in a playable demo, and we're definitely not there yet. Beta testing would come around the time where we have a playable demo. It would not be fun to beta test the game right now. You'd just be running around in the world, and I don't really know that you can give us any meaningful feedback. The big thing we're waiting for right now is networking. Not waiting for, we're working towards networking. When we have networking together, it gives us kind of the ability to do more stuff. Right now, everything is single player. Will the player models be inspired by the old Xbox avatars? We don't know what we're going to do with the player models yet. First, the short answer to that is no. There'll be something new. We have some ideas for that. We can't use the Xbox avatars anymore. They looked a little cartoony anyways, so we're trying to find something that would fit into the game, and we've had some conversations. Will Lantern Land still be a thing? Lantern Land, I want to do a video on Lantern Land. Lantern Land was a bug, and it's so interesting to me as a bug that it was so unique. Like when I first saw Lantern Land, I actually didn't believe that it was a real thing because it was completely emergent from a bug. But this week I actually put in the new Lantern Land, so there'll be something out there. And if you don't know what Lantern Land is, then you can search for it. But if you know, you know. Someone's asking me how much of the networking is finished. It's not something that I can talk about. Like, it's not something that is like, you know, there's a steady progress to. The estimates that we have are about 6 weeks from now. Will you be adding more resources besides Hellstone? Yeah, there actually is several new resources left. New resources in there already. So it's likely that there'll be more. Okay, let's get to something. Since a lot of people are new, because we're streaming in so many different places now, I kind of like to start off by just doing a run through on the game. Somebody's asking about mod support. I keep asking the community about what they would like for mod support. If you want to give feedback, one of the best things you can do is go to the there's a link here that takes you to, where is it? The forums up here, which is the Steam forums for the game. It's a great place for you to suggest things like that. Will there be more biomes other than the original 7? Possibly. There's definitely new stuff in the biomes. Trying to maintain a very similar world to what's before. The world now is much bigger and deeper than it was before, but it's actually fairly similar, which we're about to see because we're going to load up the game. Hopefully it'll run. Somebody's asking about missions or tasks. It sounds like a good idea. We haven't got to it yet. New guns, possibly. Can we make use of our 360 worlds? Most likely not. I mean, I guess there's some possibility. I'm going to say most likely not. I actually don't think it's possible with the way that everything was structured. Okay, let's see what we're at here. We were messing with the pyramids last time. If I could add one completely wild and over-the-top feature, what would it be? You know what I really would like to do is I would like everybody to be in the same world. That would be the crazy over-the-top feature. Years ago, we were toying around with the idea of CastleMiner World, which was a CastleMiner MMO. And I always thought that that would be so cool to have everybody in one big world all together. And if the guy John, who's doing our networking, is listening right now, he's probably freaking out. I could just imagine having that conversation with him. We made some changes to the desert code. I just want to make sure everything runs. These pyramids, there's too many of them out here. But there's one of them. One thing I wanted to fix right away is there's one of them. Here it is. It overlaps a crater. And I wanted to fix this so that like this is better. And I think what I want the crater to do is cut through the pyramid. And this is a perfect example of doing this. So the first thing I'm going to do here, this actually should be pretty easy to fix, and it will fix a bunch of other problems. I can mark this location. Yeah. And stop that. Okay, I'm going to just go to back to the logo screen while I pull up the code here. Will there be dedicated server support? I don't know. Oh, and I'm having a issue with Visual Studio. Okay. This is taking a while to load up. I should have done this before. Oh wow, loading project 1 of 54. Okay, we're gonna talk for a while. Somebody asked here. This is really good. They said, did somebody fix the issue with water cutting holes into the ground? Absolutely, we fixed it after the stream. It's cool that you guys, a bunch of you remember that. That's funny. It was a kind of a difficult bug to fix. I kept punting it back at John, and it was ultimately my mistake that caused it. It was a very simple, like, very simple mistake. Here, I'll pull it up if we. I don't know how interested people are in this. I'll pull this up if this ever comes back up. Yeah, there is a. So this is what coding is all about. So for some reason, if you remember the last stream, if there was water, it cut a big hole in the ground, and we couldn't figure out why. And I punted this over to John, and John said it's the world builder, which is my responsibility. And then I looked at it and I said, absolutely not. It's yours, because he deals with the sand falling. And then he came and he found it, what it was. But basically, there's this one line here where the dungeon gets built, and it was in front of the curly brace instead of after it. And basically, what that does is the dungeon is getting rebuilt. Well, I could explain this. In the desert code, what we do is we walk from the bottom of the ground up to the top, and we fill all the things in here. And one of the things that happens in here is it builds there's two parts of it. It builds the oases, but there's this code here that says if we have a water block to break out, which means that basically as it's walking from the bottom of the column up to the top, if it hits water, it breaks out of the loop and stops doing it. And this is so that water is always at the top of the desert. Like, so if there's not like sand on top of water. This happens in two circumstances. One of them is when there is an oasis there, and then the other one is when we're intersecting with another biome, like the lagoon. So the lagoon has water, and when they intersect with each other, it's possible for the desert to sit on top of the water, which doesn't make sense. So I have this code in here, but this code builds the dungeon down here, and if this code is happening in that loop, basically it's happening every single time that we're placing a block up the column, which is a bug. And what's happening is that the next time it runs through, it builds another dungeon and it kicks the thing out of the loop. It's just a bug. It was just a very simple bug. Hard to find, very, very easy to fix. And I always feel bad because then I end up taking John's time away from him, and his time is more precious than mine right now. Somebody's asking here, will the laser drill crash the game? We'll put tons of Easter eggs in that crash the game. That's our goal. We're actually taking the laser drills out. I've said this before. What I'm going for here is something as a starting point, is something that's more true to the Xbox version versus the PC version. Okay. This should be an easy thing here. There's a crash site, the place where we build the crash sites. I think what I do here, I haven't looked at this in a long time, but I think I walk up from... No, this is actually surprising to me. Oh, so I clear the crash site, but I do it. This is actually more complicated than I thought. So what I do is when I build the world, I build it in layers. So I start by like building the desert, and I put the crash sites in. The crash sites cut pieces away, and then I'm placing the pyramids, but I'm doing them in the wrong order. The pyramids need to be placed first and then the crash sites. And the way that we have this structured right now, it actually doesn't work like that. And it's making me think that I should actually do like a second pass over the world for stuff like that. Here's our world building code. We do this, we put in the crash sites here. And it's interesting because I'm actually thinking about replacing these completely. And then I have code here afterwards that do the pyramids. And what I kind of want to do is do this twice, because I want to run this after the pyramids. Of course, the pyramids don't, this is an interesting, the pyramids might be able to get placed before any of this stuff because they're not dependent on anything in the world, I don't think. And that actually would be an easier fix. Let's just try that. It's a simple fix. It's just moving. Should probably separate this out to be its own thing. Yeah. Yeah, let's do that. Instead of, well, let's try this first, and if it doesn't work, if it does, we can separate the code out to be a separate function just for the sake of clarity. And min distance is not calculated there. Where is... I must have really screwed something up. I don't like having these really big functions because of, yeah, errors like this. And have to be calculated ahead of time, which is fine. They probably should be anyways. And they also probably should be constants. Those are the min and max distances that the chunk is in. Let me hit some of these questions before I test this out. Would you ever consider VR? Yes, absolutely. Will there be claymores in future updates of remaster? It's hard to make claymores fun is one of the problems. I guess with the zombies, it would be almost like a defense system from zombies, I guess. Any possibility for a limited playtest? Yes, we have a beta you can sign up for. It's not running currently. Permadeath option, like it kills you. Maybe. Will biomes randomly generate, or will they work the same as before? We talked about this in one of the other streams. Here, let me bring this up. I went to like this hexagonal based world. So first of all, the answer to that simply is yes. They'll be the same as before in the starting world. But what I've done is, I don't really have a good way to show this except to visualize it, is I've structured the world into this hexagonal shape where each of the center of these is a tower. So from here to here is like a whole run. It's like 10,000 meters. But there's like an infinite amount of these towers now, and they all kind of look different. And one of the tasks that I have to do here is I want to shuffle the biomes in all the rest of the worlds besides the starting world. So we'll get to that during one of the streams. Somebody said an AC 130 for air support. That would be cool. Cool. That would be cool. Let me make sure I'm not ignoring the TikTok folks. What will the characters look like? We don't know. Appreciate all the love over here we're getting. Thank you so much. Yes. Okay, let's just see if this works. Here, we should be able to. This should be an easy thing to test. This is my compiles are when I get a sip of Coke. It's like a reward. Somebody's asking for base defense stuff. I really like the idea of base defense stuff. I think it goes with the game really well. It's possible. So here's the deal. We're going to release on Steam. If we get a lot of support on Steam, we can do more with the game. Like, bring it to the Xbox. If we don't, then it's like not possible for us to do this because we're a bunch of people that are doing this as their full-time job. So it's up to you to like, subscribe, share everything. I gotta ask John what the UFO is in the air. It's driving me nuts. It keeps disappearing. Did this work? We should get like a chopped up pyramid, and we did. So this is a pyramid, right? Yeah, this is what we should get. It's cool. But we realize another problem here is that we are cutting caves through the pyramids, which is a problem. Is it? I don't know. Is this cool? They're kind of like in ruins. Man, this was an accident, but I actually kind of like it. They seem so perfect otherwise. There's two different ways I could fix this. One of them is do the two different loops like I was thinking of, and the other one is to just mark the pyramids as no caves. And I have to do that explicitly when I deposit them. Geez, what's the vote on that? It's cooler than I thought it was. Let's fly around until we find another one. There's also too many pyramids, but we can figure that out later. It kind of makes the world feel like it's broken and ruined. Hey, thank you so much for the donation. Somebody's pointing out that my computer needs an update. That happened like right before I started. So I hope it's not something critical. I have to wait till after the stream. Okay. Geez, I kind of like it. I think definitely doesn't hurt anything. It doesn't take away from anything. I should probably come up with a more mature way of solving that problem so that I actually have a choice. But everyone's saying yes to the ruined pyramids, so I think we'll leave it for now. There's a little code I need to refactor here, but I tend to refactor code off of the streams and not in the Will there be more enemies than the first game? Yes, there will, most likely. How to learn UE, C++. You're learning it with me right now. I think that everybody on the team has a lot of C# Unity experience, and really only John has Unreal C++, so we're learning this as it comes along. It's kind of weird for me to be doing this live because it's very awkward. It's like showing people how to ride a bike while you're learning to ride the bike yourself. It's a little bit nerve-wracking. Can't wait till you start the Kickstarter. Yeah, we decided to put the Kickstarter off until we were a little bit more finished. Let me try to see another one of these pyramids if they... Geez, I kind of like it. Like... It feels cool. Like, yeah, this is it's a big hole blown out of the side of this pyramid. They're definitely better than being perfect. Especially because a lot of time the doors get blocked by sand. There's just way too many of them, though. Is this one we've seen already? Let me go out to the mountains and make sure everything's good. While I'm doing that, I'll read that. It's hard for me to... If you looked at some of our media, we were showing off kind of the look, the new lighting of the game. It's not really clear how much of what we have here we're going to keep. Definitely the starting area is going to look a lot more like the original game, like much more dismal, but we shared a screenshot of the of the game that, you know, had like sort of a greenish lighting to it, and that's kind of probably where we're going to end up. It's a kind of a cool oasis. Somebody's asking if I was the CastleMiner Z dev. I was. I didn't make the game alone. There was about 4 of us at the time period. Three of us at the time period. But yeah, I'm the dude. I am digital DNA. What game is this? This is CastleMiner Z Resurrection. It is the long-awaited remake of CastleMiner Z. Is this coming out to PlayStation? If we get the support we need on Steam, it is likely that we would end up on PlayStation. Over the years, Sony has been a lot easier to work with than Microsoft has. So I think there's actually probably a better chance that we would end up on PlayStation than we would on Xbox. But hopefully we'd end up in all the places. Like, not to jinx it. Will it be outposts or towns? That would be cool. You guys could design those in Magica voxel for me. What's the story behind the DNA android lady? And don't ever replace her. I should tell the story because it's super weird. What somebody is, what they're, oh, the android lady. I've never named her, but there is a really weird story about you know, how she came about. She's the gist of the story is that it's like where she came from. Nobody really knows. Originally, it was a piece of art that I purchased and like off of a marketplace, and I tried to eventually track down the person who made the art for me, and they were kind of evasive with me. And after a while, they admitted to me that it was a render of a 3D model that they didn't make. So obviously, they started with a 3D model, and they did a render of it and painted over it and whatever. And we just kind of, you know, I kind of threw it in my first game. What happened was when I created my Xbox account, I was working at Microsoft Research, and there was a developer there that was working on a technology called digital DNA, and I had just been listening to it that day. So I just, you know, as I was quickly doing my Xbox account, I just was like, oh, it was in my mind, so I just used that. And when we started doing Xbox Live Indie games, your Xbox name became your publisher name. So like the company got named for me, and I was looking for a piece of art that would that would sort of tie all of that together for some branding for the first game. So it was weird because I didn't really like choose the name. Like I definitely didn't sit down and be like, this is what the company's name is going to be. It sort of like chose. And then I, you know, found this art very quickly, found this art and threw it in the games. And then eventually I wanted to track down who made the art. And when I did, they said, like, I made the art, but I didn't make the 3D model, which I found really interesting because it's like now this is like another level removed. And then eventually it took me about, I don't know, 7 or 8 years to track down the 3D model, and eventually I was able to secure the 3D model, and it was something that it was a very, very low quality model. Somebody had like just thrown it together very quickly. But it's weird because the robot, I wish we had if everybody has a suggestion for her name, I would love to hear it, because we're working on a project right now which is going to bring her to life for the streams. So it would be cool to have her name. But it's weird because the robot has kind of, now the robot's going to, you know, come alive, and I feel like she's doing her own thing. Like it has you know, very little to do with me. It's like, you know, she kind of like you know, created herself on the internet, and, you know, ended up being you know, part of these things that I didn't really have many. I feel like it wasn't like my choice, you know, like it just happened. I'm sorry, I've been flying around in the game here and on the wrong side. Xena. That's one of the digital Diana. Those are pretty good ones. Let's see if TikTok has any suggestions for her name here. Do I miss X and A? Absolutely miss X and A. X and A was one of the most rewarding and fun times of my entire life. Up to this point, I don't know if people are talking about, XNA was two different things. There was the technology of XNA, and then there was the XBLIG, which was that marketplace, but only XNA games could go on that marketplace. XNA, I love the technology. C# is so much easier to work with, and I had been building a C# engine up to that point, and I was building a layer on top of DirectX. And when XNA came out, it was sort of like the perfect amount of DirectX, with C#. What XNA was sort of like to me, it was the best abstraction of game technology that there was. It wasn't really an engine. It was just a thin layer that sat on top of DirectX that was C#. So what it gave you is just access to all the DirectX stuff, but not a game engine. And then it gave you very simple things like the ability to pull in a model, and it gave you a resource pipeline that you could extend. It was a really well-structured technology. It was very, very easy to build an engine on top of that, and we built our engine on top of that. And then that you needed that technology to get onto the Xbox with XBLIG. Up to that point, I don't think a lot of people realize is up to that point in time, there weren't any app stores. Like, it wasn't like a thing. The XBLIG marketplace actually came before the iPhone app store. So it was way ahead of its time. Like, all of a sudden, you could just make an app and put it up on the Xbox, and that was like unheard of at the time. And me being a game developer my entire life and always having to work for companies, and this is where I got in trouble in the last stream, where I was talking about how much it sucked to work for big game companies, is my whole life I was working for big game companies, and you only get to work on a little bit of the project, and you don't get to pick the projects, and you don't get to do very much. But all of a sudden, there was this thing where you could make your own game and put it up on the Xbox, and people could like immediately see it and buy it. And it was the coolest thing ever. And it was rewarding on a professional level, it was rewarding on a creative level, and it was rewarding on a monetary level. Like, we did really good. And it was everybody that worked on these games is so appreciative of the fans and that system, because it was life-changing for all of us. So for the first time ever, I could make my own games, and I could do it time, and it completely affected the trajectory of my life, and I couldn't be more thankful for that time period. It was way ahead of its time, and it was sad that Microsoft kind of moved away from that. Their current submission system is a little bit more heavy-handed than the other one. And then there was this era afterwards of game engines, and I'm kind of down in general in the game engines. I think that they kind of almost create more problems than they solve. Somebody's asking for a price range. I'm thinking $20. That's I keep asking the community about what they have, what they want, what they would pay for it, and it's kind of the consensus that I got. It could possibly change, but that's the suggestion that I have right now. This is funny. Somebody's saying here from Brazil, hello in Brazil. The game became famous through a streamer named Venom Extreme. I'm very aware of that. There's a funny story. When that happened, it crashed all of our servers because so many people were downloading the game at the same time. So if you're from Brazil, like, definitely, thank you. There's so many of our fans in Brazil. Somebody's asking if we have plans for the Steam Deck. I don't really know what the hardware loadout of the Steam Deck is. There's no reason we couldn't support it if it would run the game. So yeah, I think I'm gonna keep the Ruined Pyramids. Like, I think I could do all the work to fix that, but I think I'm gonna keep it. And I won't bother you guys with the I should really refactor that code and pull it out so it's not so ugly, but I won't do that on the stream. I'm trying to think of what else maybe I will, because I don't know, I have a lot to work on right here. One of the things I was going to work on, this is probably more than one stream, is I want to get dungeons to appear inside of the inside of the world. So basically random little dungeons inside of the caves. And I have to come up with a way to deposit those. So that was one of the things I was going to do on the streams. Hello from Scotland. Hello. Let's see if we have any questions here. Is this game coming back? It is. It is. This is CastleMiner Z. Before we get into this, let's this isn't. Let's make it a little bit more scary and launch and we were right here at the mountains. Let's just do that. And we'll kick some zombies up and then we'll kind of move into the next thing. Console or PC? The game is coming out first on Steam, and if we get the support we need, we will move to the Xbox. And assuming Microsoft lets us do that, which is Microsoft has to approve you for the Xbox. Somebody's asking me here what I said as a comment about engines causing problems. This is a complicated topic. Let's get some zombies on the screen first, and I could talk more about that. Let's do let's make a blizzard, and let's spawn some of our new zombies. Kick the sound up here a little bit. These are our lasers. We did some streams with these. Turn the volume down here. We're hoping to release by the end of the year. But, I mean, ultimately we'll release when the game is ready. Let's go down into some caves. As I'm poking around the caves, I'll tell the story of the game engines. Before the advent of these game engines, there was sort of an amount of... make sure I got a good... Oops. Oh my god, I'm totally off stream. Okay. Let's do that all again. Okay. God, that was so bad. Here we are in the world. We got some snow going on. We're going to create a couple zombies. These are the new replacement zombies from the old world. This guy's roaring at me. These are the lasers. They still break blocks. They leave these hot chunks all around. Of course, we're out of ammo. Got a dynamite in there. There's a glow stick. little lighting bug that's going on there. You can see the error come up. When you see these untextured things, that's a I actually am surprised that that hasn't kicked in yet. That's usually like a shader hasn't loaded yet. Obviously a temporary thing. Let's go down into the caves. Anyways, getting to the game engines. When the game engines first came out, before that, there was sort of like a minimal amount of technical acumen that you needed to make a game, and it stopped people from making very, very deliberate cash grabs. So one of the things that happens when you make technology more accessible is that you end up with a bunch of people that are going to make absolute junk. And especially when Unity came out, you saw this immediately, that there was just this flood of like things that were just asset flips and really, really low quality stuff. I think in general, democratizing game creation is a important thing. I think it's good, but the flip side of it is that you're going to get a lot of crap. Those engines, for economic reasons, have a model where they want their asset stores to be successful. So what you end up with is games that have a lot of sort of the same assets in it, which would be okay if fans accepted that more, but it's sort of like they're two sort of contradictory things. And in general, I just have not liked working with the engine, especially Unity. I talk about this a lot. I really dislike Unity. It makes things very easy to do, but the stuff inside of the engine doesn't work very good together. The example that I give about this is like, you know, if you want like good trees, they have a thing for that, and if you want good lighting, they have that. But if you want good trees with good lightings, all of a sudden stuff doesn't work anymore together. And that's the experience I've had with most of the stuff inside of Unity. So when we were making Death Toll, we ran into this all over the place. Like all of a sudden, like there was all of these individual things that worked well separately, but none of them worked well together. So it's kind of like an empty promise. You know, the game engine shows you all these demos of things that it could do, but when you go to make something that for real that puts those things together, they don't work very well. I kind of have this feeling that Unity was designed to make like small mobile games, and then it's a kind of a stretch for it to do anything more than that. Unreal in general has been a better experience here. You can see how deep the caves are, by the way. Like we're kind of just meandering through the deep caves here, and we're gonna come out in hell pretty soon. I've been trying to find like sort of a natural route without digging very much. The caves are also more complex than they were in the original game. But in the old days, I guess there was less competition, and there was sort of everything was sort of like uniquely crafted. And now there's just a lot of junk, and you're kind of forced to use the engines whether you like it or not. This is the new hell. We did a couple streams where we designed the lava and the look of the new hell here. One of the cool things we get here, we're kind of just recapping a lot of stuff from older streams, is the lighting in Unreal is just unreal. It's really great. We're using ray trace lighting, and we're getting really good results out of it. This is exactly sort of what I was hoping for out of Unreal. It's the reason we're using it. On the flip side of it, it's much more difficult to develop in Unreal. I haven't done C++ development for like 15-20 years or something like that, and And Unreal is a very complicated engine that's obviously made by people who are AAA game developers that are making games. I think it's probably because it's meant to service Fortnite, because it's obviously like a mature like game engine. Every time we come across something, John and I, both of us have written AAA game engines, and every time we run across something, it's sort of like, yeah, this is exactly how this should be made. Where in Unity, everything was kind of like, why is this such a mess? The other thing too is in engines, especially Unity, is there's this effort to make them accessible. So like, for example, they want people to be able to make games who can't code or don't know how to code. And what you end up doing is you can't service everybody. So what happens is they make cumbersome systems that don't really work for the person who can't code, because you sort of need to be able to anyways, and they don't work for the people who want to do it in the hardcore way. So it kind of fails in this is kind of a cool scene, kind of fails in both respects. The best story I have about this is when we were dealing with the animation system in Unity. The animation system that I wrote for XNA, I think I wrote it in like 2 or 3 weeks and never touched it again. It was perfect. It worked for all our uses. It was very simple. It was this code-driven animation system. And it was, it's very simple. So when I was building the animation system for Death Toll, I was struggling with Unity's animation system to do relatively simple stuff. Like, it was this visual animation system that was very, very difficult to control, and eventually they replaced it afterwards. But if you do some searches, there's like, on the Unity forums, there's like rants and rants that I have about their animation system, where stuff just either didn't work, or it wasn't practical to implement stuff, or it wasn't obvious how you would implement things. And my feeling with that is it doesn't help the person who isn't coding, and it doesn't help the person who is. And they replaced it later on with a system that was more like the system that I had built for XNA. But we're already on like Unity 4 or 5, and then the fact that the animation system is being gutted mid-project is frustrating. It's like, well, why couldn't you design this right from the onset instead of coming up with a new animation system every couple years? Unreal Engine's been around for a long time, and I don't have experience to know what it was like in the beginning. Like, maybe it's turned into a really good system and it wasn't in the beginning, but there definitely seems to be a better effort to service hardcore game developers and sort of casual people that are just scripting. So Unreal has their C++ system, which is like as hardcore as it gets in terms of a real game engine, and you can do almost everything in there. And then there's the Blueprint system that runs very slow but is completely visual, and it's kind of cool because it's like cool to like just getting into Unreal without knowing anything. It's really easy to make things in their Blueprint system, and it's really easy to see what's going on. So it's actually kind of a cool system. I kind of wish there was an in-between. Like, I wish there was like a C# layer in between for scripting, but because you have to deal with all like the nuances of C++ when you do that, which is one of the things that C# takes away from you. And I've been rambling for a long time without answering any questions, so I'm going to make sure I do this. Somebody said here they have a 3070 Ti. I think you'd be fine. I have a 4060 Ti, so that's what you're seeing right now. And I'm also in the environment, which makes everything run slow. Somebody's asking for recommended specs. I don't really have that information for you right now. Endurance game mode getting any love? Yes, absolutely. Endurance game mode was the core game mode, so it's got to exist in there. I'd like to do more with it, not less. Somebody's saying here a majority of gamers are a split on liking and disliking Unreal. Unfortunately, I think there's a bunch of different reasons for that. I think I didn't realize this going into this, but a lot of people have a impression that Unreal is slow, and I think what happens is it's because a lot of games are made in Blueprint, which makes them slow. Our game is almost all in C++, So we're not going to have that problem. In fact, Unreal seems very, very performant when we run this. And then John is like a performance maniac. So like that's not going to be an issue at all. The other issue with Unity is the TSA anti-aliasing, the temporal anti-aliasing. And we've noticed a lot of issues with them, but we've actually solved a lot of the issues. I don't know if you were on some of the early streams, the torch left like a ghost across the terrain, and that's gone away. There was also an issue with these textures smearing. I'm not sure if we have this turned on or off now, but that seems to actually have gone away too. We've found solutions to all these things. We'll probably be using DLSS for the final anti-aliasing for the final game. We had it in for a while, and we had to take it off when we upgraded Unreal Engine. But I think that's the reason the hate comes from. If it was me, there's really only two choices nowadays, which is like Unreal and Unity. And it seems like when I play Unity games, I see the clunkiness right away. If I go back, I was looking at Death Toll, our last big game that we made last night, because we were talking about doing a Death Toll community night. By the way, if people are interested in playing I don't know if this is going to upset people or not. We were debating this inside the team. But I was looking at some old videos of Death Toll, and because it's such a big multiplayer game, we thought about doing a team Death Toll game with the community where we'll all play on one squad, and the rest of everybody else can join in other squads, and we'll stream the whole thing live. It sounded fun to me, but there was some sort of some people on the team had some objections to it. But you see the clunkiness of Unity games right away. They just feel clunky. If they're anything more than mobile games, like right away when I play a Unity game, right away I can kind of see the clunkiness of them. Where there's a lot of AAA games that are made with Unreal Engine. Are the alien guns gonna stay around? I'm out of ammo right now. I could be shooting these down here. Let's throw some glow sticks in the cave. This light that's coming through here is a bug. We're trying to find solutions to that. Somebody's asking here if they can join the development team. Like I always say that we're like the Navy SEALs of game development. I always talk about how I don't know. A lot of people don't know my history, and I took so much crap for the comment I made about the layoffs in the game industry. I started making games when I was 5 years old. And I made a bunch of little games myself, even before I was in the before I was in the game industry. I made a digital video fighting game called Travelers that you can find on our YouTube site. And then the experience that I had on my own making games, I ended up getting into the game industry when I was about 21. And I worked for Microsoft Game Studios, and the guys who made Mortal Kombat, I worked for their company for a while. And eventually I left the game industry and started Digital DNA Games and made a whole bunch of not Unity games. I made a whole bunch of indie games. And one of those games was CastleMiner Z. Another one was Avatar Paintball. There was Avatar Warfare, Avatar Laser Wars, Avatar Avenue. That was, I think, the first indie game that we made. Overall there was about 16 or 17 that we made on XBLIG, and most of them were actually #1 hits. So I appreciate everybody supporting us so well over the years. But we took a break for a while for a bunch of different reasons, and I got the original people back together. We're doing this, but my thing was that when I started my company, I found the absolute best people that I'd ever worked with in the game industry, and only chose to work with that. As I always say, that I only work with the rock stars. I only work with the A-list. Somebody's asking here how hard it is to switch game engines. Have you tried to port a game. It is very, very hard to switch game engines. It's completely a rewrite from ground up. Somebody's saying we should remaster Laser Wars. I completely agree. If this turns out well, I think it's likely we'll remaster Laser Wars. Yeah, it's a complete rewrite. This is one of the reasons why it's taken us so long to do this. The biggest request that we got over the years was to just bring the game back to Xbox One. But Microsoft stopped supporting their own technology, X and A. So our only option to come to Xbox One was a complete rewrite of the game. We sat down a year ago trying to decide how we would do this rewrite, and we were talking about rewriting it in Unity, but we would end up with something that looked kind of the same. And I wanted something that took advantage of new technology, not just a remake of the game one for one. But so we ended up where we are now with Unreal Engine. This is one of the reasons we never ended up on PlayStation, for example, because when we looked at doing a PlayStation port back in the day, it required a complete rewrite from the ground up. And I was looking for a external company to do that for me, and I wasn't able to find it back then. This is kind of cool. We came up through a pyramid here, or a dungeon. And I don't know, we must be under the desert. So this is a completely emergent thing. I don't understand. I think it's because we're in the mountains. I don't understand why there's mountains penetrating the dungeon here, but it's actually kind of cool. Somebody's asking here if we would add walkie-talkies. That's interesting because we were talking about adding voice proximity chat. But the idea of crafting the walkie-talkies is actually a really cool idea. Would you add fall damage? Absolutely, fall damage. We always had fall damage. Let me make sure I'm getting the TikTok. Somebody's asking if PlayStation is an option now. Yes. So the reason why we're doing this whole rewrite is so that we can find our way onto other platforms easily, and Unreal Engine makes that really easy. So the idea of going back to Xbox and PlayStation is very, very easy now, as long as there is some support for the game. What we don't know as a team right now is how many people actually want this to be a thing. Like, there isn't really a good way for us to measure it. That's why we're looking at things like Steam wishlist. And since we're like halfway through the stream here, let me bring that up and just say that if you go to CastleMiner Z.com, like, please wishlist the game as a minimum. Doesn't cost you anything to do if you're interested in doing it, because this tells us, and it also tells other people like publishers and Microsoft with Xbox, how many people are interested in the game. The wish lists end up being like a public thing that people can see. So if by you wish listing the game, this is you telling us that you want this to be a thing, and it's very important for you to do that. So if you take a second right now and go and wish list the game if you're interested in. I'm assuming if you're here watching the stream, you're interested in, but that actually helps us more than you can probably imagine, because the thing that we're trying to understand right now is like how much time and effort we should put into this. And if it's obvious that there's lots and lots of interest, then it's a very easy decision for us to do more with the game. Somebody's asking about the dragons. We haven't implemented the dragons yet, but they will definitely be in there. They were a core part of the game from nearly the beginning. Let's go back to Unreal. And let me make sure I'm getting the TikTok comments here. Somebody's asking if we're going to do Game Pass. I don't know. I really don't know. I think it really has a lot to do with Microsoft. I mean, we don't really have much control. All we can do is say, Microsoft, please, can you let us be on your system? And, if either they do or they don't. To be honest, I'm a little bit nervous because there was kind of some friction with them back in the old days. This is a good question. After the world generation is finished, what's the system that you want to work on next? While I'm doing this, the networking is going into the game. When the networking comes up, then we'll start at the same time putting the enemies in, and then we'll have building, networking, and enemies, and then at least then we can like start playing the game for real and start to see what things feel like. But I think that that's kind of like they're all coming on at the same time. Like we have the archers in. I have I don't want to throw it. We have a stand-in archer in now, and a stand-in skeleton. But eventually the enemies will come back. Microsoft just hating on digital Diana. It's funny. And all of this stuff will sort of come in at the same point, and then the lighting will come in because right now the game looks all bright and happy, and we're trying to get the vibe of the game right. Yeah. Once all of that comes up, it'll kind of happen all together. We'll have like a very baseline, what we would call in game development a vertical slice, which is like a slice of all the features of the game, but not everything built out. And once we have that, we could make videos and demos that kind of give a realistic view of what the game will actually be like. But up to this point, we're not there yet. The networking is a really, really big problem for us right now because the networking in this game is sort of unique. There's a bunch of very unique problems that we have to solve, and there isn't an out-of-the-box system that will do it for us. So we're building the game. We're building the networking from scratch. I have John, who's probably the best person I could imagine working on that. The other thing I was going to say too is if you're waiting for this on Xbox, like still wishlist this. I mean, still wishlist it. It doesn't hurt anything. It's not like you're voting against the Xbox stuff. It's not like if it becomes successful, it's like the opposite. It's not like if it becomes successful on Steam, it's like you won't get it on Xbox. It's almost the opposite. If it fails on Steam, then it's like, it's going to be almost impossible for us to bring it to Xbox. What'll happen is they'll just say no. Like if we ship on Steam and nobody's interested, Microsoft will just say no. They'll just say, we don't need this. But if on the flip side of it, if we're very successful on Steam, it's very, very difficult for them to say no at that point. Like, it's really hard to justify. It's funny that Torch is in such a weird place there. It's really hard for them to justify not putting a hit game on their system. Like you have to imagine that whoever's making that decision at Microsoft is, it would be so hard for them to justify. Man, the heat distortions off of these torches are cool. I never noticed that before. I wonder where we're at. We're probably in the desert. One of the cool things is in these games, these like voxel-based games, that there's a type of lighting that they do. Our lighting's there's a bug here you can see at the top of the screen. There's a type of lighting that they do, which is to sort of fake this flood fill lighting. In fact, let me do this. We're here in the blizzard in the desert at night. Let's just go to clear skies. And let's change the day. Let's go back to like daytime. The cool thing about Unreal Engine, snow is still on the ground. That'll start to melt. Is that the way the lighting works is really neat. Like the ray trace lighting is that the light will propagate its way around corners. The fact that it gets bright like this all the time is a bug. When we switch to Unity 5.6, we got introduced this bug. We'll have to figure it out. But like, here's a good example of, this is not a really great example of the light sort of working its way down into the caves here from the outside. You know where the better example of this is at the origin. Let's go back to the beginning. I think I went the wrong way. Somebody asked, what are we playing? CastleMiner Z Resurrection, the remake of CastleMiner Z. Yeah, you kind of see it down here where it's like you can see how the light is kind of bouncing its way down into the caves. Like this is all like indirect lighting. It's kind of a cool effect of this. You also get emissive lighting. A way I could do that. Actually, I think that the let's get into a dark cave and I'll spawn one of our temporary skeletons. And you can see that even their eyes are bouncing light around in the cave down here. They're a little bit bright. I don't know where that guy fell down to. Let me just restart really fast so I can replenish my laser gun. I think you can see like these hot rocks will end up lighting up the area. This is so fun. Let's throw a bunch of dynamite down here. Did a bunch of streams where we set up that black body radiation. It's exciting. I'm really excited to put this together. Somebody's asking about, will food be part of the game? I don't think we're going to. I don't think we're going to add food to the game anytime soon. Everything got really bright. This is a. There is a bug that keeps causing this to happen. Trying to get some zombies to spawn here in the dark. Oh. There they are, yeah. Still working on the overall lighting for the game. Somebody said, is it rewarding? It must be rewarding to see these things pay off. This is one of the best things about game development is that you build a little thing and then you see something cool. Like you build a little thing and you see something cool, and it's so addicting to build something out like that. Like it's and what's one of the things that's cool about game development is that when you put little things together, it's just like each little piece is fun. I could never imagine doing like productivity software or something, because it doesn't. There is that loop there, but it's not as dramatic as before. It's like all of a sudden, whoa, there's like lasers and explosions, you know, versus. Let's put a torch on the wall here. There's zombies running around. I mean, most of this stuff is stand-in. The zombie model is not. This is the zombie model that's going to end the game. We're actually really happy about how the zombies turned out. I thought they looked really good. We had a really talented character artist do those for us. me make sure I hit the, it's so difficult here to flip between TikTok and, did you model the weapons? All of these weapons are stand-in right now. Somebody's asking again what this is. This is CastleMiner Z Resurrection, slated to come out at the end of this year, and I am the developer of it. I have a team of 3 other extraordinarily talented game developers, the best there is, industry veterans, and most of us are the original people who put CastleMiner together. Somebody's asked about NPCs. Yeah, that's definitely something to think about. Like, that's something. All of these things would be easy if we, everybody on the team wants to continue working on this game. So if we can do this with your support, again, I think I'll take a little break from the game right now to drop the link to the website in here. If you support us by, buying merch or, on our Patreon, so feels kind of gross to me to do this, but it actually helps the game. All of this goes to the development of the game and helps things a lot because everybody's doing this on volunteer time right now. We don't have a publisher. We don't have money to put this together. We're all just kind of like doing this on our own. Got the old band back together. Everybody has left their jobs, their day jobs, and we're doing this full time. So. And so far the support's been great, so we really appreciate it. But if you want to help us out, there's all the links on our website. You can definitely wishlist us, if nothing else. But otherwise, there's other ways. Even watching our streams helps. Our streams are ad supported, so you guys watching the streams actually helps us a lot too. I know that you guys are probably getting bombarded, especially with ads. Will it be available for the new Xbox? Yeah, so basically the game is going to ship on Steam first, and then if we get support there, we'll be able to bring it to the new Xbox. Assuming Microsoft lets us. Somebody's asking about how long did it take to get the world generator running. We ported the original world generator over, and it was exactly like the old world was. And then I wanted to make changes. I tried to keep a version of the old thing running, but it got more and more difficult as I started to add stuff. But one of the big changes is the environments. The biomes are bigger. The world is twice as deep. The caves are more complicated, and we did a lot of work on the transition in between the biomes. So it's similar, obviously, when you play it, it's very similar to what you remember. But it is just like bigger and better. So somebody's asking here if we thought about making, I do have my DC in my hand here, yeah. Somebody asked if we were making endurance mode more challenging. I thought endurance mode was challenging, so I'm kind of curious how you would make it more challenging. It's definitely more challenging now because the world is like much, much deeper than it was before. Or much larger than it was before. PS5, yes. Hopefully, if we would get approved for PS5. Is there still the alien motherships? There is. Is the Devil Man going to come up to the surface and raid your base? That would be pretty cool. We'll have to figure that out. I think I wanted to put more emphasis on the boss battles for the game. Somebody's asking what the game is. It is CastleMiner Z Resurrection. And we're developing it right now as we go. Expected release is at the end of this year, hopefully. Please come and Steam wishlist us at CastleMinerZ.com. I don't know if I could put the link in the TikTok. I don't know if the TikTok is getting the other chat links. I'll make sure that I have the link over there. Somebody's asking, will the epic music be there? Yes, the epic music will be there. We want to make sure that it's the game that you remember from your childhood. Did we make any other games after CastleMiner Z? Yes, several. We made... I'm trying to think of the list. First of all, there was Savage Lands, which is a game on Steam. It actually did fairly well. It was like a Arctic survival game. Then we made Death Toll, which absolutely nobody played. And there was another one I made after that. Was Digital DNA Zombies, which was like a little party game for the Xbox, which I would have liked to have done more with. I actually kind of like Digital DNA Zombies. I'm trying to think of... There were several games on the Xbox we made after this. We made CastleMiner Warfare came after this. CastleMiner Warfare I thought was great. It seemed like nobody else did. I thought we all, when we were making that, we all thought that that would be... People were going to love it. I would have liked to have done more with that game. How old... Somebody's asking how old I was when CastleMiner Z released. I don't know if they're asking that to the chat or they're actually asking that for me. I have to think about how old I was. I think I was in my 30s. I'm 50 right now. I'm going to be 50 next week. But I think I was like... I'd have to do the math. I think I was like 37 or 38 when I made CastleMiner Z. Somebody's asking here about the draw distance. The game actually always did that. What's happening here is there's nothing hiding it in the background right now. So that's one of the things that we're working on right now. Is there's a combination of things. The algorithm about how the blocks draw in, and like basically fog that obscures the outside. Somebody's saying I look young for 50. I really appreciate that. If you go to my Instagram, you can see that I spend most when I'm not making games, I spend most of my time working out. So it's the life. It's the... Somebody's asking a lot about endurance mode, if we would add more to endurance mode, and I would love the suggestions. Like if you find one of the forums, putting your suggestions for endurance mode would be... I look at all that stuff. So, and a lot of the stuff that's in the game is stuff that came from fan suggestions. So if you go to CastleMinerZ.com and follow the Steam forums is a good place to do that. There's also forums in the Discord channels. Yeah, somebody's asking for pushing out the draw distance. Like we're working on the algorithms for that. Somebody's saying here, I can see that I can see the X. I can definitely see X comments right now. So they're asking something about the Devil Man. That's reworking the enemies is something that we're working through right now. Gun customization. That's something I would love to have in the game, but definitely not when we release it. Somebody's saying they play Z over Minecraft. I appreciate that. DLCs and updates after the game releases. Absolutely, if the game is successful. All of us would love to be doing this professionally. We used to do this full time, and everybody had to kind of go off and find jobs. So we would love to be doing this full time again. Somebody's asking about the price. I think it's going to be $20. But that could change. Somebody asked, I've said this before, somebody asked if I've always made games on my own, or it was a company. I started making games when I was 5 years old. I worked for Microsoft Game Studios for a while. I also worked for, it was Studio Gigante was the company that was created by the Mortal Kombat people. I was a big fan of Mortal Kombat. And then in 2009, I started Digital DNA Games, and I've been making indie games myself ever since then. I have not released a game in the last 5 or 6 years. There's a lot of people coming in. It's funny, there's a lot of people coming in on TikTok. It's this CastleMiner Z. Maybe you guys in the chat can help them out. It's funny, I keep getting the same questions here on TikTok of like, what game is this? What game? It was great because we're exposing this to new people, which is exactly what we want. This is CastleMiner Z Resurrection. This is the remake. We're remaking CastleMiner Z with the original team. What's the first proper game that you made that got published? The first real game that got published in the stores was MechWarrior 4. That was my first professional job in the game industry. I had made a bunch of games before that, but the first game that made it to the store was MechWarrior 4. And it was a great experience. It was a great team. I started working for FOSSA Interactive in Chicago. I was a big fan of them. They had made these like pods that you could be inside of. It was like you went to a place and you got in a pod and you played these these BattleTech games inside of these pods, and I was a big fan of them. And I was really lucky when I came out of college that I was I got hired at that company, and I got to work with so many great people there. But that was the first game I made. After that, there was a couple other AAA games that I worked on. Was Pitfall: The Lost Expedition, and the Shark Tale game, the game for the movie Shark Tale. And then I think I worked on a WWE game, but I don't remember. I think it was WWE 21. And I have a bunch of crazy stories about that. The company was getting like forcefully shut down as we were shipping the game, and then in the end, the company shipped the wrong title, the wrong disc, which was a big deal back in that day because it was on the original Xbox and you couldn't update them. It's a crazy story. Just kind of walking through the world here just to see. Somebody asked about compare working on AAA games to your own projects like this. That's actually a really good question. It was fun to work in AAA games for the time period that I did. It also was a different time period. Back in those days, like a AAA team had maybe like 20 people on it. Now there's like hundreds of people on a AAA. Like I wouldn't want to do it anymore. But one of the things that I didn't like about working on AAA games is you had very, very little input into the product. Because the products were so big, you typically worked on a very, very small part of them, and you didn't really have a lot of input into the project. And the work hours were brutal. Like they were like just absolutely brutal. Like the first project that I worked on, MechWarrior 4, we were on crunch time where we were working day and night, 7 days a week for like 18 months straight. I would wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning, work until like midnight, come home, sleep a few hours, and go back. And I did that for a year and a half straight. I was like 22, 23 years old. And what I found is that every time I went to a company, after the next company I went to was Edge of Reality in Austin, Texas. And it was the same exact thing. We were working on these games, and it was like, there was this expectation that you were going to sleep under your desk and work, like 7 days a week. And then I went to Studio Gigante, and they had problems. Like we were late. We were making WrestleMania 21, and the problem with that game is that the I wasn't a big wrestling fan, but the wrestling event happened at a certain day, and the game had to be done for that day. It's one of the problems when you work on a game that's either for a movie or for like an event, so you can't be late. So that was another project I remember working at that company and working 7 days a week, all day, all night, the same thing, waking up in the morning, going to work, working until midnight, and then coming home and doing it again 7 days a week. And I remember it was Christmas time because I think WrestleMania was like in April, and the technical officer of the company told us if we took 1 day off during Christmas, he was going to fire us. That if we took if somebody just called, because what people would do is they would just call in sick. It would be like Christmas Day or so. It's like working for Scrooge. It would be Christmas Day and people would just call in sick. And he warned us that if we call in sick during Christmas, that they would fire us. That's kind of what working in the game industry is like. Somebody asked here, is the pay insane? No, it is absolutely not insane. As in the game industry, we're paid less than any of the tech workers in the tech industry, and you tend to lose your job every 2 years. As soon as you ship a product, after you've done all this and you ship a product, you lose your job. There was a lot of people when I commented on that made analogies to the construction industry. We were saying that, why would they keep you around after you left a job? What you have to understand is this isn't contract work. Like you don't. There are definitely contract people in the game industry, but I never worked in a contract job. So typically you went through like an exhaustive job search to try to find like the right company that was a right match for you and everything. You could be making 2 or 3 times more somewhere else in the tech industry. So nobody was there if they didn't want to be there. And when the project ended, either the company would close or they would just fire you. What sucks about that is that a lot of your compensation is like either royalties or stock options. So when I started working for my first company, FASA Interactive, we were supposed to get royalties on that game. And because the other BattleTech games did very well, that was kind of like what everybody was looking forward to. That company was purchased by Microsoft, and when they did that, there was 2 projects, and they kind of just one of the projects they just killed and they laid everybody off, and the other project which was MechWarrior, they moved us to Microsoft, but they took away our royalties, and this was sort of halfway through the project. Microsoft said, we don't pay people royalties, we're not giving this to you, but what they told us was you'll get stock options for us, and stock option. Basically the way they work is they give you like stock, and if you stay long enough at the company, usually there's a vesting cycle that's like 4 years. That's what it was at mine at the time. So you don't get anything until you get like pieces of it, but until you stay the 4 years, you don't get the option to exercise the stock. But if the stock goes down in that time period, you don't get anything. So what happened to me was, I think I was there for 3 years. We shipped MechWarrior 4, and in that time, this was like in the early 2000s, the stock market crashed. It was the tech bubble. And when that happened, my stock options became worthless, and it's in that moment that Microsoft laid me off. So I didn't get anything. So when a lot of people, when we made the transition from FASA to Microsoft, they cut their salaries down because they said, like your compensation is stock, it isn't your salary anymore. So people that were sort of, kind of, I think, underpaid for what they were already, were all of a sudden, being paid less, but they were promised stock. But Microsoft controls, if they fire you, they just take the stock back. So what they did is we waited for us to ship Mech 4. We worked 2 years straight, and then they just got rid of the whole team. And all the stock that we had at that time was worthless, and they just took it back. So it was like a lot of empty promises. So I'm a little bit bitter about working in the AAA industry because I've seen that sort of abusive situation so many times. And as a result of that, I typically pay lifetime royalties to my people on everything that we make. So if you make something, we make it, there's a royalty agreement, and you get that royalty agreement in perpetuity forever. And one of the reasons, and usually the royalty are significant. And one of the reasons I do that is because I'm kind of bitter about basically be working for a lot of empty promises where somebody says, like, oh, you're not going to get paid really well, and there's this stock that's in the future that you're going to get, but all they want to do is get a game out of you. So they'll work you as hard as they possibly can and then make sure that they don't have to pay the stock or the royalties in the end. And I always thought that was wrong. So a lot of the people that worked for me during the Digital DNA years made a lot of money, like way more money than they would anywhere else in the game industry if the games did well. But anyways, that's what it's like. That's what it was like back then, and that was like 20 years ago to work in the game industry. I've heard only horror stories now, and especially now with what's going on in the tech industry, I can imagine it just being worse. Like right now in the game industry, like everybody's laid off. Like everybody is laid off, and two of the guys that are working for me have been laid, like they're working full time because they were laid off in the game industry, and these are people that have been doing amazing things in the game industry for like decades. And really one of the reasons I'm doing this is because I want to see these guys being taken care of, because I think that each one of us have worked for decades in the AAA game industry for big companies, and we all have similar stories about that. And I want these guys taken care of. Right now we're kind of going into this project with sort of equal shares of everything. Like nobody's getting anything more than anybody else. And if this works out, it will solve a bunch of problems for all of us, and will allow us to continue to work together as a team. I always saw the company more of like a band than a company. Is that we all have our parts, like the bass player plays the bass and the guitar player plays the guitar. Everybody has the same interest in the product, so they work at top capacity, because that's really where they that's really what it's all about. Everybody only cares about the success of the product. And everybody's sort of working in any way that they possibly can to the benefit of it, and nobody really does better than anybody else in the system. It's all very, very transparent, like very, very different than running a company where I've started a couple startups, and it's really, really different than being in the VC world, where there's this kind of gross thing where like somebody like grabs all the stock and they give a little bit to somebody and a little bit to somebody else, and then there's this idea, well, it's like, well, I'm more important than you because I do this and you do that, and I've been in those situations too, and I think it's really gross, especially if you have external investors involved that aren't really contributing anything except for money. And those people end up usually writing the rules in those situations. So they'll like grab all the stock themselves, and they'll be like, well, here's like 2% for you, and here's 2% for you, and you got to stay 5 years until you get that. And I've gone through that enough times to know that I will. The joke I have about that is that I know that I will never see that. Whatever that you're offering me is like, I will never see that. I actually have a funny story about this. One of the guys on the team here, I started a startup with Microsoft with years ago, and we were in a meeting with attorneys and like negotiating the terms of the company, and it became very clear in the meeting that the investors of the company had the majority of the voting shares of the company, which means that they could just vote our shares away at any point. It's sort of like that scene in the Facebook movie where like the one guy's shares get diluted and Zuckerberg just like takes over. And what I've learned over the years is that like if somebody has the ability to do that to you, they absolutely will. So I'm like really skeptical of those deals. But we're like a band. We're all in this equally together. We renegotiate, typically over the years, we renegotiate the project deals project by project. So, we like, do you want to make this project? If you do, like, this is your role in it. This is the piece that you're going to get, and, I have people on the team that I personally drive checks to, once or twice a year on a handshake agreement that we made 20 years ago. And I think it's just, if you can get past all of that gross stuff and get everybody on the project involved in a capacity where they only want to see the project be the best thing that it is, and that everybody could end up like really benefiting from it in the end, it works out so much better. And I think a lot of the stuff that we had in the early days with Digital DNA were really an example of that we had, everybody was just very invested in making really great products. I gotta flip back. It's really difficult to flip back. I gotta flip back to TikTok. And we're gonna come out here somebody asked here about the Descent. Miner's, yeah, we're seeing this right now. Miner's Paradise. We called it the Descent. And I'm gonna get, it's actually a lot longer now because the world is so much deeper. Somebody say, what exactly happened to Digital DNA? I can never find anything. So I am Digital DNA, first of all. So I'm here, and I always joke, the rumors of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. Making games, I haven't made games for a long time, but we're back to doing it. I can tell you the whole story. There was a lot of different things that happened in that time period. The last game we made was Death Toll, and in that time period, there were a lot of difficult things that were going on. As we were putting Death Toll together, we were kind of, it was a bigger game that we had made in the past, and we were kind of struggling with what that game should be. It was going to start off as a completely different game, and we kept kind of changing it as the game. And then during that time period, there was something called the Indie Apocalypse, which was a time period where it was very hard to get exposure for indie games, and I saw that coming, and there wasn't a whole lot that we could do in that time period. We just kind of wanted to get, here is the new, the Descent, the new one. You're getting a pretty clear view of it in the daytime. It's going to get dark here as we go down. I restructured this a little bit to make it more interesting. It used to kind of just be like a ramp, but now it's there's just more. There's more topology to this thing. Anyways, so we're shipping Death Toll, and there was a bunch of personal things that happened to me as we were doing this. As we were shipping Death Toll, my father was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So I was trying to finish the game while that was going on. In fact, the last stages of the game, my father died late into the project when we were sort of at the last push, and I couldn't really stop. So I traveled home to deal with that, and I was still working on the game as it was being finished. When the game finally shipped, it wasn't received well, and my wife asked for a divorce a week or two later. So I was kind of stuck in this place where I was dealing sort of with the fallout of my father, who was a really big supporter of mine, and always was a big supporter of the games, and he probably played my games more than anybody else, and he was the one that taught me how to program when I was a little kid. And then sort of dealing with my marriage falling apart, and then at the time period I had my daughters. I have 2 daughters, which were 2 and 4, and I ended up being a full-time single dad. So it took several years of concentrating on all of that stuff, and I sort of took a break from making games. During that time period, it really wasn't obvious what to make either. I was looking at the industry and the marketplace, and I couldn't really decide what the best project was to make. This is kind of cool. The breakdown here happens while we're in the granite area. But we're back. The other thing that happened too is everybody after Death Toll went their separate ways. So I didn't really have anybody to make games with me at that point. So all of the, again, we're still working on the lighting, but this is kind of probably close to what we would get to. This is a place where the undead dragon would start showing up. Everybody kind of went their separate ways after Death Toll, and I didn't really have anybody to make games with. So the last game I made was Digital DNA Zombies, which was a game to make things which was a game for the Xbox to test out that system. I wish I could do more with it. I'd love to make that a mobile game. I think it would be a fun mobile game. But anyways, that's kind of the story. So this is me, and I'm not dead, at least not yet. And I am here remaking CastleMiner Z. Oops. Okay, that was that. That was a long rant. Yeah, there's people here talking about cancer. It was super sad. Like, my story is interesting. My dad was dad was really important to me and my career. My dad was an electrical engineer, and when I was 5 or 6 years old, he taught me how to program because he felt like that would be an important thing in my life. It was 1980, I think, and he was really into video games. A lot of his friends were engineers in the game industry in the 1980s. They were like in the arcade industry. So we would go to arcades a lot, and I really think he should have been in the game industry because he was an avid gamer, way more than I was. And we spent most of our years in the 80s and the 90s playing games together. And when I started making games, he would play these games more than anybody else. Like, he logged thousands and thousands of hours on our games, and he would start, like right now, he would be playing our games. Like, he would be like playing this, and when I would talk to him like all the time, he would be very serious. Like, he'd be like, hey, this feature has got to change, it's no good, it's going to get people upset. Like, he would like very, very critical of the games, and he would never do it. He was the CEO of a technology company, of a small technology company. So he really understood how games were, how things were put together, and what was important for business. And he would, always, like, he was hard. He was really hard on me. He's like, this is a problem. Like, this feature's got to be changed. It's got to be fixed. And throughout the years, he played thousands and thousands of hours of our games before they were ever released. And he died very suddenly. Like, I think it was, we launched Death Toll in April of 2018, and I think I got a phone call. I was on a vacation with my kids in the October before that, and I got a phone call, and I needed to go home. And I think he died a month or two after that. And it was really hard because I felt like I couldn't really stop working on the game. There were so many, things we were pushing to the end of this project, and we had worked at it for so long, and the markets were changing so difficult, so I had to sort of push right through it. But yeah, he would be happy to see me doing this right now. Definitely was my biggest fan. This, I love, everybody has a different name for this area. We called it the Descent. Somebody just called it Mineral Mountain. I actually think it was like a very quick idea that I had when I put this together. I wanted the world to kind of fall apart under you and leave you in hell. But this is the new one. I can zoom out here a little bit. It's way cooler than it used to be before because it used to just be like a ramp, and now it is a sort of like a very varied area, and there's waterfalls inside of it. Like, I put a lot of work into this. Like, the pillars and the waterfalls are all in this area. It's like super cool. So, everybody who played this is going to really enjoy coming back out here and doing this again. Somebody asked, is there any way to learn how to build games using Unreal Engine for free? Yeah, absolutely. Unreal and Unity are both free to download. I tell this to people all the time. If they want to make games, like just download the engines and go through the tutorials. It'll get you so far. I would probably not start with Unreal Engine. I would probably start with Unity. I think it'd be easier to, I'm always bagging on Unity, but it's actually very easy to make games inside of Unity. And the tutorials for Unity are really, really good. So if you're thinking about making games, download Unity and just go through the tutorials, and I guarantee you by the end of the tutorials, you'll be able to make a simple game. This is kind of cool. We're coming here at the sun is setting and we're coming back into the Arctic. Oh, let me zoom out here. This is one of the things that's different from we spent a long time on the transition zones. The line between the Arctic and the descent here used to just be like a line. It was literally just a ramp and a line, but I spent a lot of time trying to make it look like glaciers that were sort of melting into each other. Excuse me. This is one of the big changes that I made in the game. Somebody's saying, when is it releasing on Xbox? The game is coming out on Steam first, and if it's well supported, we can bring it to Xbox. But if it isn't well supported on Steam, we won't be able to. So any love, we appreciate. Like, we got to help each other out. Like the PC, I know the PC players and the console players are kind of like at each other, but like we all got to be in this together. Like that's because I want this to come out on Xbox more than probably any of you do. I know that it belongs on the Xbox. It'll definitely do the best on the Xbox. But the pathway to get there is like through Steam. Like we have to demonstrate that there's interest in the game on Steam. It'll make it way easier for us to get to Xbox. And it will give us the money that we need to do to continue to do the port. The problem that we're having right now is that everybody, this is like our full-time job right now. So if we are able to support ourselves enough to continue working on the game, we can do this forever. But if, like console players, like I saw a comment on Facebook when I changed the bio that said something like, oh, this is for Steam, unfollowing, goodbye. And I don't think people realize like you're just harming the whole process in that. Like if you want it to be on Xbox, it's like the opposite thing that you need to be doing. Somebody's asking if I made CastleMiner Z. Yes, I am the person who made CastleMiner Z. Do you hire playtesters in the game before release? No, we do not hire playtesters, but since we're hitting the 2-hour mark, we might as well do this. You can sign up for the beta. And in almost every game we've done, we've had very, very large scale betas. So if you go to the website, CastleMinerZ.com, I'm going to put this in both chats, you can go and sign up for the beta. And that it doesn't mean that you'll necessarily get into it, but typically we've betaed we've given out thousands of betas, and if you get in the beta, you end up getting the game for free. So I would definitely, if you're interested in the beta, it's like sign up for the beta, and if you get picked for the beta, you could sign up for free. The other thing too is if you support us on like Patreon, for example, which is there's the link on our website, you're essentially buying your way into the beta. One of the tiers, like one of them's preferred access, will put you at the front of the list. The other one is insured access, which means that when the beta comes out, you'll get it regardless. The link to our Patreon is on the website right here. If you go to CastleMinerZ.com, you can sign up there. Is it possible to come out for PS5 or releases for Xbox 2? Yes. If we're supported on Steam, that is the plan. Any estimation of the beta would start? I wish I knew. If I had the dates, believe me, if I had the dates, I would be telling you the dates right now. But the game has to have, the networking has to be done, has to be about, somebody said here, 80 to 90% complete. It has to be about 80 to 90% complete, because it doesn't really help us for people to beta the game if we don't, if we're not actually testing anything. Like right now, there wouldn't be any benefit to this. People would just run into problems like crazy. There'd be nothing to do. They'd stop playing the beta because there'd be not much to do inside the game here, and it just wouldn't be a good experience. Plus, we'd have to like maintain that right now. But when that does come out, we really encourage people to stream it. Like, that would help us a lot. So you part of the beta, cool. If you sign up for the beta, you can stream the game before it's available for anybody else. Totally okay to do that. So another reason to sign up for the beta. So go to the website. And somebody said that, do we have a definitive price? Not definitive, but I think it's going to be $20. We're kind of rounding out the time here. I'm gonna try to hit all the questions that I can before I go. I appreciate so many people showing up for these things. Do I apply to the beta through Steam? No, there is a link on our website for applying to the beta. What's been your favorite thing to work on for the newer version of CastleMiner Z? Definitely working on the world building stuff has been the fun so far. It's been really fun to see. The cool part for me is to see the world building stuff in this really, really great engine. Like in this really great engine. It's like getting to see all the old stuff in the new world. Somebody's asking about minimum specs. It's going to be a quantum computer. Can we see the dragons? No, we do not have the dragons in yet. Believe me, when the dragons are in, we will definitely make a big deal about it and show anybody. We do have zombies, though. I know a lot of people are fresh to the stream. Let's get on the ground here and spawn some zombies. And you know what we'll do? Killing them with lasers. We will also put in some thunderstorms. Yikes, that's not fog. And let's go out to the desert. Thunderstorms at night. Actually, let's switch to daytime. Actually, the night might have been cooler. I don't know what the min spec is yet. There's 4 of us working on the game right now. Everybody are very seasoned AAA veterans of the game. A lot of them have worked on very, very popular games. At some point, I'll probably do another introduction of everybody, but they're definitely games that you've played before. Here, let's go nighttime again. Nope, not gonna let me. Let's spawn some zombies. This will be cool. Gives you kind of idea what the game will look like. Fire some lasers out. So I mean, you can just imagine your old. There's some great scenes here. Your old CastleMiner Z experiences again, you know, in this new renderer. And we'll put a bunch. Let's do a lot of zombies. In fact, let's do like a golden hour thing here, if we can get that going with the like a sunset. We will definitely add unique features. There's already some in here already. I like shooting lasers across the desert. By the way, on TikTok here, thank you for the diamonds. I realize that people have been throwing diamonds at me. I didn't really understand what that was, and it took me a while to figure that out. But I appreciate all the any kind of donations that you guys make through things. This goes directly into the development of the game. So the donations through the streams, I really I really appreciate that. Everybody's saying this looks great. I appreciate it. Everybody on the team has done a lot of work to get to this point, so I appreciate that. Will the demons come back? Yes, they will. Are there going to be more naturally generated structures? There actually is already. How's the progress on the skeletons? The skeletons are definitely returning. We're putting them in. The skeleton in there right now is probably the one that we'll use, but he's got the wrong animations. He's using the zombie animations instead, and the eyes are a little bit too bright. They got to be put down. Like, all of the animations really are standing right now, but he's it's the right model. It's just the wrong animations on him. We actually have an archer in there right now, but he's like totally stand-in. Yeah, he's got like he's using the zombie animations. Oh, you guys want to use the bows that the archers have. That's kind of interesting. One of the things I thought about adding was an alien that shoots back at you. By the way, when the game gets low frame rate like that, that's because I'm off the screen here. Like, this is, it doesn't actually run like that. It's just when I click off the screen. Let's see before I go if I could find one of the crash sites. This is kind of a cool lighting scenario. This is Unreal Engine 5. Somebody asked what version this is. Unreal Engine 5. And now that I've said that, we're going to get a bunch of hate because people hate Unreal. Why do you guys hate Unreal Engine 5 so much? I mean, I guess I make a bunch of assumptions. But I don't understand. I don't really understand. Somebody's talking about TAA. We're going to be using DLSS, not TAA, in the final product. We actually had that in. We upgraded from 5.4 to 5.5 or something, and we lost DLSS. But DLSS, we had it running for a while. If you look at some of the old streams, you can see the difference it makes. It's actually pretty cool. To me, it's interesting. The hate is interesting because the alternative is Unity, which there's so many problems with. One of the reasons we shifted to this was that we just couldn't get the look to look right on Unity. Unity has a basically a very, very basic pipeline, graphics pipeline, and then they have like an HDR pipeline, but the HDR pipeline barely works, and they tell you not to use it. It's like 10 years behind Unreal. It's Unreal is more easy to learn than Unity? No, it is not. Unreal is so much more difficult than Unity is. Unity is definitely easier to make games. lot of people are saying that the games are not optimized. We are like hardcore game developers, optimizing stuff for us is kind of second nature. Especially a lot of us came from like the '90s when you were counting processor operations. I spent my early career writing assembly code for a lot of things. So, and most of the game here is written in C++. It runs great so far. Somebody asked about my dev machine. I do have a ridiculous dev machine. I have a 4060 Ti, but I have a very high-end CPU and a lot of memory. But it's typical to have dev machines that are very, very high-end because games typically don't run very good while you're making them. So you have to compensate by having good hardware. What's the game called and what's your website? It's CastleMiner Z Resurrection. It is the remake of CastleMiner Z, and our website is CastleMiner Z.com. Roughly how many hours has it taken to develop the game so far? That's a really good question. There is 4 of us working full time, and we've been doing this since November. So I don't know. You can do the math on that. This is a good question. Somebody said, since your dad taught you coding, did you teach your kids coding? And I haven't, because I really actually think that AI is going to change the way that that things work so far. The other thing too is I feel like I wasn't really given a chance to do anything else. I was taught coding when I was 5 years old, and I made my first game when I was like 6 or 7, and I've never done anything else. So I kind of wanted my daughters to decide that they wanted to do this on their own. My older daughter is definitely into coding, and she does a lot of Roblox coding. So, but I haven't really pushed it on them. And I actually kind of think that with all the AI stuff, that's going to be very, very different for them than it is now. It might not be worth learning all the coding stuff in the future. It's definitely the way things seem to be going. Again, somebody's asking here, is the game exclusively PC? No, we're going to ship on PC first. The whole goal is to get it back on the Xbox, but I need PC and console people. It's so hard to like work together towards a common goal to get this onto the Xbox. Like, we all have to do it together. We definitely need you guys. What's a feature we're looking forward to adding? The dragons, like that is, I think, one of the ones I'm excited about doing. Somebody's asking here about optimizing Nanite and Lumen. This is like sort of 2 different questions here. We're not really using Nanite very much because of the way that our geometry is set up. None of our geometry works with Nanite. And Lumen is their rendering engine. There really isn't any way to optimize Lumen. Like, Lumen is just their lighting engine. So, but it runs well. So it's like I'm not having a problem with any of that right now. Somebody's asking about how we code the enemy, I guess the AI in Unreal Engine. We're in the middle of changing that right now, and that's John does most of that. John did all the AI stuff in the original game too. I think he did a really great job of it. New dragon types in mind? Yes, I do have new dragon types in mind. Somebody's asking here, is it a remake or is it new stuff? I keep saying it's somewhere in between a remake and a sequel. We want to make sure we maintain the nostalgia, so the game has a lot of the original stuff, but it's definitely added a lot of new stuff already. We'll add more before the whole thing is over with. Somebody said here, have you ever lost hours of progress because of a power outage or a computer crash? Yeah. In fact, when we started the project here, I had a problem with my computer, and it was rebooting itself about every hour. As soon as it would get, I think it was heat related. Every time I would use Unreal and it would get a little hot, it would crash, and I was losing work all the time. You typically don't lose lots of work, because what happens is you save and you compile, and you save and you compile, and you save and you compile, and the work that you've lost is usually pretty a small thing. Somebody's asking if you need a powerful computer to code. You don't need a powerful computer to code, but you kind of need a powerful computer to make games, because what happens is when you're making a game, let's see if I can bring up my task manager here. When you are making a game, you deal with optimization last, I have a very very heavily threaded CPU. I have 128 gigs of memory on my computer. But you do optimization last. So you get the game running, and then it runs bad, and you need a powerful computer to sort of just get you over that hump, and then you can optimize stuff away. But if you can't do that, it's hard to just get things done in general. So in general, the game developers have ludicrously powerful computers, because you're just trying to just get things on the screen. But if you're making a mobile game or a 2D game or something, you don't need that. You used to need powerful computers to do compiles and stuff, and you don't really need that. I guess that's one of the other things that we do, is that we have very, very fast hard drives. A couple of us on the team, I have one, it's two very, very fast SSDs that are in a RAID 0 configuration to optimize speed, because you're hitting the disk so much when you're doing compiles. So what you do is you get two of the fastest, those M.2 ones that everybody... It's I always thought it was like Star Wars, where the Jedis build their own lightsabers. Everybody that does computer games builds their own PCs, because you need this really powerful PC. So you go and you pick out all the components, and you do all these crazy configurations, and it's like your lightsaber. You're a Jedi, and it's like your lightsabers. But I have it in here, you get two of those M.2 SSDs. You get the fastest ones they are, and you put two of them together, and you make them RAID 0, so they are accessing simultaneously, and you get blazing fast disk speed. So for example, if I rebooted my computer right now, it takes 5 or 6 seconds for the computer to boot back up. That actually helps a lot with game development, because you're doing a lot of stuff on the compiling has a lot to do with stuff that you're doing on the disk. Somebody's asking me if I can convince their mom to buy you a 4090 for schoolwork. I have a funny story about that. I went to college for computer science, and I had to convince my dad in my first semester that I needed a new computer, but he was very supportive about it. He understood what I was doing. I think another great story about my dad, so many stories about my dad today, is that I needed a 32-bit compiler in the 1990s. It was the DOS. I forget the name of it. It was the DOS 4GW thing. It was everything was 16-bit, and I needed this 32-bit compiler, and it was $3,000 in the 1990s, which is the price of a car. And I asked my dad for it, and he bought it for me. It was he I made this just, and he understood technically why that was important, and the stuff that I could make for it. And I went and I made so much cool stuff with that compiler. It was a very cutting edge kind of thing, and I was kind of amazed that he, without any resistance, he gave that to me. There was a lot of games. I think the original, I think the Doom games were made with that. it was back then. It was like you had there was computers had this like limit of 600. It was 640 kilobytes, which is ridiculous because I'm sitting here with a computer with 128 gigabytes of memory on it. If you needed to use more memory than that, there was all these tricks, but the real solution to that was a 32-bit compiler, which gave you access to all the memory on your computer. Like even if your computer at that time had like, I don't know what was typical at that time was like maybe like a gigabyte, that actually might have been too much. Like, you know, if you had like, I think it was hundreds of megabytes of memory, but if you had that, you couldn't use anything. Yeah, I think that was a lot. Like having like 200 megabytes of memory was a big thing back then. So if you needed to get that access to that memory, you needed this special compiler, and there was games coming out like Doom that did this, and it was like a cutting edge new thing because they could use a lot of memory for the first time ever. So you needed this very expensive 32-bit compiler to do this, and like my dad got me that compiler, and I went and I built. Travelers was, I think, the first game that used that. And you could go to the YouTube channel and see videos of Traveler. It was a fun game. It was like Mortal Kombat. We filmed it in my basement. We made costumes, and it was fun. It was definitely fun to put together. But yeah, those were the days. Like I've been through I'm 50 years old. I've been through the full. I've been a game developer literally my entire life from the time I was 5 years old, and I've watched all the stuff happen, and I did development through all of it. Luckily, I feel like I was very privileged to grow up in a time period where I could do all this stuff and watch the industry happen. And I had a very supportive family that was very into video games and like very into engineering, and was very supportive about all of that stuff during that time period. And it's all culminated here. Here I am. I feel really happy that I was able to make a game that made an impact on so many people's lives. And here I am bringing this to you. So I really hope before AI completely changes the game industry that there could be got one more great title in me. Somebody say it's campfire feeling, I think, with the lightning that's going on in the background. But yeah, and I appreciate all the love and support that I've been getting from everybody. The last few years have been kind of hard for me, so like getting back on this horse has been difficult. And one of the two things that made it possible, first of all, are my friends that are here supporting me and making this. I couldn't do this without them. It always makes me think of like the original Star Trek cast. It's like we have like the same sort of dynamic, and the support from them, and then the support from you. It's really, really hard to make a game that in a vacuum, where like you don't know if anyone's going to like it until you're absolutely done. But this is so much more encouraging for me. Like this is making something and having people be excited about it every step of the way makes it really easy to do. So somebody's asking here, do I play any games myself? I don't play as many games as I used to. I used to play games a lot. I have 2 little kids and I'm busy, so it's kind of hard to do that. I would like to do some community game nights. Again, we were talking about doing a community death toll night, just because I thought it was cute because nobody's ever really played that game and it's one of ours. And I was kind of messing around with it the other night and I thought that would be fun. But I would like to do that. I haven't played. I was a really big fan of the Battlefield series. Played a lot of Battlefield. I was really good at it. I also played a lot of Call of Duty. I really wanted to play Warzone, but I was afraid that if I started playing it, I would get like totally addicted, and I would only do that. I played a lot of PUBG too. Where there was a time period when I was playing PUBG. I'm trying to think of what else I've played a long time. A lot of Diablo. And then a lot of arcade, like old arcade games and stuff like that. I thought about streaming some of that. I was playing old arcade games the other night. But I don't play as many games as I used to because it's hard to balance everything, being an adult and trying to, do everything together. I did play Minecraft for a while. This is kind of, I guess, where everything started. I played Minecraft, and I kind of would have liked if they would have focused more on combat in that game. And that was what we tried to do, was make something that was just sort of like not about building, but more about like combat that felt really good, like a mixture of, Call of Duty. I was playing, at the time period, I was playing Call of Duty Zombies a lot. And I wanted something that was kind of like, Call of Duty Zombies, but in a Minecraft-y kind of world. And I think people liked it. I thought that would resonate really well with the Xbox group and the people on the Xbox, and it seemed to, because we did really, really well on the Xbox. I've been on here for like 2.5 hours, so I think I'm going to wrap up the stream. I mean, maybe I could take another question or two. I actually have somewhere I have to be right now, and I have to entertain my kids. But again, I appreciate everybody coming in here. We got a lot of diamonds on the TikTok feed. This is really great. All of this goes to the contribution of the game. I really appreciate everybody dropping by. A lot of people dropped by on TikTok tonight. Somebody's saying here that on the release of the game we should play Castle. Absolutely, we'll do a stream with the people playing the game. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. This was a good stream. I didn't get much work done, but we got to show off a lot of different things. When I go into these things, I usually anticipate doing a working and just being quiet and letting you work, and I end up just working and just letting everybody just kind of talk about what's going on. But this ends up being, these are fun though. If people are engaged and they're asking questions, I appreciate the interest in the game. Thank you very much. I think I'm gonna drop out to the trailer right now and take off. I appreciate it.